Supercross live on supercrossonline.com. Kevin Barnett, Jim Holley, wrapping up a night in Indianapolis, and it was a wild night indeed. Jim, we'll start with those 250s. Blake Wharton comes out, leads 14 laps, goes down, and Marvin Musquin, who was in last place because he got in a fight with a couple of tough blocks on the very beginning of that first lap, goes from last to first for his second career victory.
You know, it's an unbelievable night, and what I mean is Dean Wilson not being in that main event, having the problem that first lap in the heat race, having to go to the hospital to get some x-rays. He's pretty banged up. I don't think he's going to be in Toronto, but who knows? You know, Dean's a tough kid, but like you said, Wharton, I mean, you think he's got that one, and the thing about it is he had a pretty good gap on Musquin. All he had to do is follow that rider through the whoops, but he changed lines, and that was it. It put him on the ground, unfortunately, like you said, Marvin Musquin, I mean, he's the last. Will Hahn's back there too. You think, man, there's no way these guys are going to get on the podium, but Musquin gets 2 in a row now. Most importantly, he picked up 5 more points in that championship to Will Hahn.
Yeah, a huge deal for Marvin Musquin. And then in second place, how about Kyle Peters, who's finally delivering on some of that promise from a couple of years ago. Peters is having a good season.
Well, and you saw it at the start in Arlington. He came out, he got that Nuclear Cowboys whole shot for the $1,000 in Arlington, Texas there, and put himself in a good position. But first podium for him, he was happy, all his mechanics, teammates, you know, and that'll build. You know, he'll go into Toronto knowing that, hey, I got a possibility of being on the podium again. But, you know, I asked him, I said, hey, what were you thinking when you saw number 13? He's going, hey, I moved 1 more spot up on the podium. He thought for sure he was going to get a podium with third, but he says, I'll take the gift any day of the week.
Okay, in third was Will Hahn, fourth, AJ Cannizzaro. He was riding well all day in that B practice. He'll find himself in the A next week.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big plus for him. We talk about it all the time on Supercross Live, our coverage during practice, how important it is for, you know, an AJ Cannizzaro to be in that A practice, and now he's going to get an opportunity to do that. Okay,
moving on to the 450s. The carnage just continued from the first turn with all the crashing going on in the first turn. Nuclear Cowboys whole shot picked up by Davey Millsaps, and from there it was James Stewart for a little while until he got tangled up.
Yeah, he made a little mistake by himself in that left-hander, just to kind of, you know, just kind of made a little bobble. Just, you know, he said, hey, it was my fault, or things happen. But, you know, something that I noticed, Kevin, that I'm seeing with, you know, as we get in the later stages of this championship fight, these guys are racing now, you know. Ryan Dungey and Ryan Villapoto put on a great show, and I thought that, you know, Millsaps with that whole shot and collecting that $1,500 from Nuclear Cowboys, I thought, hey man, the guy's going to turn around, he's going to stop the bleeding, he's going to put himself in a good position. But those guys ate him up, and he's just kind of riding around in third spot. I go, well, you know, the damage isn't too bad. He's going to lose 5 points, and Villapoto's already got 2, that's 7. He's still going to be on the podium, and then all of a sudden he goes down, and James Stewart sitting in fourth going, hey, you know, after tonight, I'll take a podium, you know, after leading this thing. But it's going to be good. I mean, you know, 4 wins, you know, for Ryan Villapoto here in Indianapolis. Indianapolis is a good town for Ryan Villapoto.
Now, you mentioned the racing that these guys are doing. I think everybody felt when those 4 riders were up front, here we go, because all 4 riders looked good all day. Then Ryan Dungey just could not quite get past Ryan Villapoto, and Villapoto has shown once again he just rides without mistakes.
Oh, he's like a pit bull, you know, once they latch on to that championship lead and it's getting in the later stages of the fight, you know, he just, you know, the pressure's not going to bother him. But, you know, I mean, not for lack of effort. I mean, Ryan Dungey was trying inside, outside, pushing, sticking a wheel, trying to force him into a mistake, and he just couldn't get just enough to get a wheel in there to push him out of the way. But, you know, something that I told Ryan Dungey, you know, on the podium is he wasn't in Toronto last year because he was injured. The last time he was in Toronto was when he was riding for Suzuki, and he won Toronto. That was the first win of the season back then. So, you know, good things could happen here in Toronto, and look for that. We're heading up to the Great White North.
The Great White North.
The Great White North in Toronto, Canada. Yeah. And, you know, I think that the racing that we saw here tonight just going to continue on all the way through until Las Vegas on May 4th.
And you know, Dungey's excited because not only does he get that race in Toronto, but he also gets what is a home race in Minneapolis in just a few weeks' time. So this championship chase is going to do nothing but heat up for the 250 East and the 450s. It was a fantastic night of racing here in Indianapolis. We'll do it all over again next week north of the border in Toronto. Remember, we have our preview of the day. We have 3 hours live streaming of practice, the AMSOIL podium interviews with my partner Jim, and then this post-race wrap-up. It's been amazing in Indy. We'll see you next week in Canada.